Success isn't a mystery, and it's definitely not a secret. It's a system, a structure, a process that almost everyone ignores, even though it's right in front of them. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. Most people aren't failing because they're lazy or unlucky. They're failing because they don't stick to a system. They move in random bursts. They try something here and there. They start strong, then stop halfway. They hope that effort scattered across 100 directions will magically lead to results. But success doesn't work like that. Success rewards structure. It rewards the person who has a routine that keeps running whether they feel amazing or whether they feel empty. Think about it. How many times have you tried something new with excitement? You told yourself this time would be different. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you stayed consistent. But then what happened? Life distracted you. Your emotions dipped. Motivation faded. And just like that, the effort stopped. Then you looked back, frustrated, wondering why you never break through. That cycle repeats over and over, and it kills dreams. Not because you can't do it, but because you're guessing. And guessing is the enemy of growth. If you're serious about finally moving forward, you need to stop playing this game of chance. You don't need more motivation. You don't need better timing. You don't need the perfect circumstances. What you need is a system, a framework that doesn't bend when your feelings change. A process that holds you in place when everything in you wants to quit. That's how winners are made. That's how people create results that last. This message isn't for people chasing quick hacks or 5-minute tips. It's not about the illusion of progress. It's for people who are ready to stop wasting years and start taking real control. Because the day you commit to structure is the day your life starts changing in ways that last. Here's the first principle. Figure out your system and stop guessing blindly. That's where everything begins. You don't need the perfect energy, the perfect motivation, or the perfect people to show up in your life before you start. Success doesn't care about perfect timing. Success cares about structure. And yet most people miss this truth. They think there's some hidden secret behind other people's achievements. They imagine there's a secret door, and behind it is the life they want. But the door is open. It's always been open. The only reason you haven't walked through is because you've been guessing instead of building. When you guess, you hand your future over to chance. And chance is a terrible master. But when you build a system, you take control. You stop waiting for today to feel like a good day. You stop gambling with your energy. You make every day a good day because you designed it that way. A system isn't magic. It's just a set of rules and actions that you control. It removes the randomness. And when you remove the randomness, you remove the frustration. Think about how much time people waste trying one thing after another, never sticking long enough to see results. They confuse activity with progress. They think trying harder is the answer. But effort scattered across random directions will never produce predictable success. You can grind 10 hours a day and still feel stuck if you don't have alignment. That's why the starting point of every system is clarity. You have to ask yourself, what do I want? That sounds simple, but most people rush past it. They don't know what they're truly aiming for, and so they can't design a process to get there. Do you want stronger health? Do you want to build wealth? Do you want more peace of mind? Be honest. Clarity is power. The clearer you are, the stronger your system will be. Because without clarity, you'll waste years chasing things that don't matter. Once you've chosen, stop guessing what to do next. Start designing it. Don't do things just because they sound good. Do them because they pull you closer to the outcome you've committed to. Random effort never creates consistent results. Systems do. And the system you build must revolve around one focus: routine over motivation. That's the trap most people fall into. They chase motivation. But motivation is a liar. It's temporary. It shows up when things are easy and disappears when things are hard. If your actions depend on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. Winners aren't winners because they're more motivated. They're winners because they've built systems that don't wait for feelings. They've designed processes that run no matter what mood they wake up in. And here's the piece most people avoid: tracking. If you're not tracking, you're still guessing. And as long as you're guessing, you're lost in the fog. You can't improve what you don't measure. You can't strengthen what you don't study. If you want to lose weight, you don't just hope you're eating better, you track your meals. If you want to grow your income, you don't just hope you're working harder, you track your hours, your actions, your results. It's not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. Because tracking forces you to face the truth. And most people would rather lie to themselves than see where they're dropping the ball. But growth starts the moment you stop hiding from your patterns and start fixing them. Too many people ask the wrong questions. They ask, why is success so hard? Why does it work for them but not for me? Those are weak questions. The better question is, what system are they using that I'm not? If someone's ahead of you, it's not because they're smarter. It's not because they're more talented. It's because they're more structured. They follow a stronger framework. They've replaced random effort with repeatable habits. Look around you. Every successful area of life is built on systems. Businesses don't run on guesses, they run on systems. Athletes don't win on luck, they win with systems. Artists don't create masterpieces out of thin air, they follow a process. So why should your life be any different? If you want consistent results, you need consistent effort. And consistent effort comes from a system that runs every day, no matter how you feel. Start small. Start with your mornings. Ask yourself, what's the first thing I do when I wake up? Is it planned? Or is it random? That first hour of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you leave it to chance, the rest of your day will collapse into chaos. But if you control it, even in small ways, you train your mind to respect structure. That's where confidence is born. Confidence doesn't come from hype. It comes from knowing you're living on purpose. Next, look at how you make decisions. If you're reacting all day, you're not running a system. You're being dragged around by circumstances. Strong systems reduce decisions. They make certain things non-negotiable. For example, work out 3 times a week, no matter what. Read for 30 minutes before bed, no matter what. Plan tomorrow before you sleep, no matter what. These aren't motivational slogans. They're system pieces. They eliminate decision fatigue and keep you moving forward without hesitation. And here's the key. Your system doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Don't try to copy someone else's blueprint word for word. Build one that fits your goals, your life, your vision. The best system is the one you can actually follow. You can always refine it later. But the most dangerous thing you can do is keep operating on guesswork. Because guesswork builds nothing. Yes, resistance will come. Old habits will fight to pull you back. Your mind will whisper, "This is too much." But that resistance is the price of progress. Every time you choose your system over your feelings, you're rebuilding your identity. You're proving to yourself that you're no longer a person who guesses, you're a person who builds. If you're stuck right now, it's not because you're broken. It's because you don't have a process. You've been reacting, hoping, waiting. But waiting never builds success. Only systemizing your actions does. So here's where it starts. Write your process. Keep it simple. What's your morning routine? What are your top priorities? How will you measure progress? What distractions will you eliminate? That's your system beginning to take shape. And when you follow it day after day, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop guessing. You stop hoping. You become the kind of person who moves forward no matter what. That's how lives change. Not through sudden breakthroughs. Not through flashes of motivation. But through strong systems repeated daily until they become your new normal. Success isn't a secret. It's structure. It's a system. And the day you decide to build it is the day you take full control of your future. Most people know exactly what they need to do. The truth is, they're not lost. They're not clueless. They're avoiding. They're running from the tasks that feel uncomfortable, the decisions that bring pressure, the conversations that spark fear. And because they keep avoiding, they stay stuck in the same place year after year. Avoidance is the silent killer of progress. It doesn't scream at you. It doesn't announce its arrival. It creeps into your day quietly. It shows up as the phone call you put off until tomorrow. The workout you skip because you're not in the mood. The hard conversation you delay because you don't want conflict. The decision you stall because failure feels possible. And each time you push it away, you lose ground. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later, but later only multiplies the weight. Problems don't shrink when you avoid them. They grow in silence. And by the time you finally face them, they've become heavier than they ever needed to be. That's why success is built on one simple rule. Face the hard things early. Not when they're convenient. Not when they're easy. Early. Before they grow teeth. Before they spiral out of control. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Hard things are unavoidable. If you want to grow, you have to go through them. There is no shortcut around discomfort. There is no life-changing breakthrough hiding on the easy path. You grow through the pressure you face, not the pressure you avoid. Every person you admire, every person you call strong, isn't strong because life gave them special treatment. They're strong because they stopped running. They leaned into the very things other people kept pushing away. That's where discipline is born, in the moments where you'd rather escape, but instead you step forward. Ask yourself right now, what are you avoiding? Be honest. Is it a responsibility you've been pushing to the side? Is it a goal you've been putting off because the work feels too heavy? Is it a decision that scares you? Whatever it is, it's not going away. And every day you delay, you make it bigger in your mind. The story grows louder. The fear expands. The resistance multiplies. That's the dangerous thing about avoidance. It doesn't protect you. It weakens you. It steals your energy. Because deep down, you know what you're supposed to do, and when you keep running from it, guilt builds up like static in your chest. You feel restless. You feel drained. And that's not because you're lazy. It's because you're living out of alignment. You say you want change, but you're avoiding the very things that create it. You grow the most when you attack what you least want to do. That's the paradox. That task you've been dreading, that's the exact task that will move your life forward. That decision you've been postponing, that's the one that unlocks your next level. The weight you're scared to carry, that's the weight that builds your strength. When you start facing the hard things early, you take back power. Suddenly, the weight you've been carrying in your head disappears. You don't spend all day thinking about it. You don't waste energy running from it. You simply deal with it, and that creates peace of mind. It builds confidence. It tells your brain, we don't hide anymore. We handle it. Think about how much of your stress doesn't come from the task itself, but from the delay. The stress of knowing you need to send that email but not sending it. The stress of knowing you need to start exercising but not starting. The stress of knowing you need to cut out that toxic habit, but pretending you'll do it later. The task isn't killing you. It's the avoidance that's eating away at you. Avoidance is expensive. Costs you clarity. Costs you momentum. Costs you belief in yourself. The longer you delay, the weaker you feel. But when you face hard things early, you earn strength. You build a new identity. You stop being the person who runs and you become the person who acts. That's where self-respect begins. Self-respect doesn't come from talking about your goals or posting about them online. It comes from waking up, looking at the thing you least want to do, and choosing to face it head-on. That's where confidence grows, not in hype, but in honesty. The private victories matter more than the public ones. The pride you feel when you handle what you once avoided, that's the pride that lasts. The longer you wait, the bigger fear grows. The earlier you move, the smaller fear becomes. That's the formula. You don't need to wait for courage to show up. Courage shows up after you take action. You don't need to wait until you feel strong. Strength is built through repetition. You don't need to wait for motivation. Motivation is the reward, not the requirement. So how do you break the cycle of avoidance? Start small, but start now. Every morning, do one thing you've been putting off. Just one. Make the phone call. Clean the mess. Start the workout. Have the conversation. Finish the task. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be faced. That's how momentum begins, not by waiting, but by moving. Over time, something incredible happens. The things that once scared you start becoming normal. The tasks you avoided start becoming habits. What used to feel heavy now feels like routine. And that's how you grow. That's how discipline is forged, by facing resistance until it stops scaring you. Most people waste years waiting for the fear to fade. But here's the truth. The fear doesn't fade until you face it. The only way out is through. The only way forward is action. Every time you choose discomfort early, you win. You win against hesitation. You win against weakness. You win against the old version of yourself who kept waiting. And that win builds character. Not just discipline for today, but resilience for tomorrow. Because success isn't built on easy choices. It's built on the repeated decision to lean into difficulty instead of running from it. So stop telling yourself you'll start later. Later doesn't exist. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. Start now. Face the task now. Step into the discomfort now. Not because it feels good, but because it's necessary. That's the difference between people who talk about success and people who live it. Your success will always match your ability to handle pressure. That's the real test. And every hard thing you face early is training you for the next level. Stop avoiding. Stop delaying. Stop running. The thing you fear is the thing that frees you. Face it now. There will be days when you wake up and everything feels heavy. Your body feels sluggish, your mind feels foggy, and even the smallest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. You don't feel excited. You don't feel motivated. You don't feel like moving forward at all. And yet, that's the exact moment when your character is tested. Not when life feels easy, but when you're tired, drained, and tempted to check out. Most people lose the battle here. Not because they're weak. Not because they're incapable. But because they've built the habit of waiting. They wait to feel better before they take action. They wait for the energy to return before they make progress. They wait for inspiration to strike before they commit. But here's the truth. If you only work when you feel good, you'll never build consistency. And without consistency, you'll never build anything lasting. Winners are different. They don't let feelings make decisions for them. They don't negotiate with their mood. They follow their system regardless of how they feel in the moment. And that's why they keep moving forward while everyone else falls behind. Here's the key lesson. Tiredness is not the enemy. What matters is what you do with it. Everyone feels tired. Everyone feels drained. But some people still do what matters, and that's why their results compound while others stagnate. The strongest people have trained their mind to lead their body. They've trained their priorities to lead their actions. They don't let their emotions decide what gets done. They let their values decide. And that's the difference between progress and regret. Think about this. Some of your most important breakthroughs won't come on days when you feel amazing. They'll come on days when you least want to move, when your body begs for rest, when your mind whispers excuses, and when everything in you wants to put it off. Yet you still show up. That's when you prove something to yourself. That's when you earn real respect from the only person who matters. You. There's something powerful about sticking to your plan when you least feel like it. About finishing the task even when your energy is low. About keeping your word even when no one is watching. That's what builds discipline. Not hype, not adrenaline, but quiet follow-through in the hard moments. You don't need to feel great to take action. Action itself creates energy. Movement creates clarity. The moment you begin, even with something small, you start breaking the grip of fatigue. The hardest part is always the first push. Once you move, momentum begins to carry you. And with each step, you remind yourself, I'm not controlled by how I feel. I'm in charge. This is why systems are more powerful than motivation. Motivation can't be trusted. It shows up when things are exciting and disappears when they get tough. But a system removes the question. Tells you what to do no matter how you feel. That's how you keep moving forward when emotions fail you. So when everything feels heavy, stop asking yourself, how do I feel? And start asking, what matters most right now? That one shift changes everything. Your goals don't care if you slept poorly. Your responsibilities don't care if you're tired. Your future doesn't care if you're not in the mood. They're waiting for you to act, whether you're ready or not. And every time you choose action in those low moments, you separate yourself from the majority. Most people stop when they're tired. Winners slow down, but they don't stop. That's the mindset you must adopt. You may not move at full speed every day, but you must move. Even a slow step forward beats standing still. The worst mistake you can make is to quit completely just because the day doesn't feel perfect. That's how momentum dies. That's how progress resets. And restarting is always harder than continuing, even at half speed. So here's the practical rule. When you're tired, don't aim to do everything. Just aim to do one meaningful thing. One task that matters. One action that aligns with your system. That's enough to keep the rhythm alive. That's enough to remind your mind that you're still in control. And here's the truth. Not every day will look impressive. Some days your output will be small. Some days your energy will be low. But consistency isn't on to stop. But tiredness isn't a signal to quit. It's a test. A test of whether you'll live by feelings or by values. A test of whether you'll act on emotion or on principle. And when you pass that test, when you keep moving through fatigue, something shifts inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to believe in your own reliability. You start to trust that no matter how you feel, you'll follow through. And that trust builds a foundation of confidence nothing can shake. Yes, rest has its place. But real rest is earned after responsibility, not before it. Don't let rest become your default response to resistance. Too many people waste their lives because they confuse fatigue with finality. They think tired means stop. But tired just means move slower. So the next time you wake up drained, remember this. You can either let tiredness control you, or you can use it as an opportunity to grow stronger. You can prove to yourself that you are not someone who only shows up when it's easy. You are someone who shows up, period. That's how resilience is built. That's how consistency is forged. That's how you separate yourself from the crowd. By doing what matters even when you don't feel like it. Your future won't be shaped by the days you felt amazing. It will be shaped by the days you stayed in the game despite exhaustion. And if you keep showing up through those days, you'll look back and realize something powerful. Tiredness didn't stop you. It built you. Do what matters even when you're tired. Because that choice repeated daily is how real progress is made. Every single day, your habits are steering you somewhere. Whether you notice it or not, the small actions you repeat are quietly shaping your future. And here's the truth. Your habits don't care about your dreams. They don't care about your goals. They don't care about the promises you write down in a journal. They only care about one thing, what you repeat. You can say you want success. You can talk about how badly you want to change. You can visualize the life you desire. But if your habits don't align with that vision, you're lying to yourself. Because your results will always reflect your routines, not your intentions. That's why so many people feel stuck. They're not failing because they lack knowledge. They're failing because their habits are taking them in the opposite direction of where they say they want to go. And the longer you ignore it, the more powerful those habits become. Habits work like compound interest. At first, the impact is invisible. A single skipped workout doesn't ruin your health. One late night scrolling your phone doesn't destroy your productivity. One day of overspending doesn't wreck your finances. But the danger is in the repetition. Repeat it enough, and those small choices start stacking into something massive. They quietly build walls around your future. And by the time you notice, you've already drifted far from where you wanted to be. But here's the good news. You're not stuck. You're not doomed to live under the weight of old patterns. Because habits can be changed. And the earlier you interrupt them, the easier it is. That's why awareness is your greatest weapon. Take a step back and study yourself. Watch how you move through your day. Notice the things you do without thinking. The way you grab your phone as soon as you wake up. The way you eat when you're stressed. The way you waste time when you're bored. These small actions might feel harmless, but they are writing your future in the background. Ask yourself honestly, if I keep living like this for the next 5 years, where will I end up? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't guess. Play it out in your mind. Where does this path lead? Does it bring you closer to health, focus, discipline, wealth, peace? Or does it quietly pull you into distraction, fatigue, and regret? That's the power of habits. They don't ask for permission. They just repeat. And if you don't take control of them, they will take control of you. So what do? You rebuild. One step at a time. Don't try to change everything overnight. That's how people burn out. Start with one habit. Just one. Choose the habit that is stealing the most from your future and replace it with something that builds you. Maybe it's how you spend your mornings. Instead of reaching for your phone, read, journal, or stretch. Maybe it's your evenings. Instead of zoning out until midnight, plan your next day and get to bed earlier. Maybe it's how you speak to yourself. Instead of tearing yourself down, practice one line of self-respect every day. The key is sustainability. Don't chase extremes. Chase consistency. The goal isn't to shock yourself with a radical new life. The goal is to rewire your routines until the better path feels natural. Remember this: what starts as a decision becomes a default. That's how habits form. The more you repeat an action, the less you think about it. Eventually, it becomes automatic. That's true whether the habit is helping you or hurting you. That's why now, not next year, not someday, is the time to choose wisely. Because if you don't take control of your habits early, they will harden into patterns that are harder to break later. And you'll wake up one day realizing your daily autopilot led you somewhere you never wanted to go. You can't afford to live on autopilot. You can't afford to hand over the steering wheel of your life to impulse, distraction, and old programming. If you want to grow, you must live intentionally. You must build habits that align with the life you want, not the life you're trying to escape. And here's something most people never realize. Habits shape your identity. Every repeated action casts a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you prove you are strong. Every time you keep your word, you prove you are dependable. Every time you follow through, you prove you are trustworthy. And over time, those small votes add up until they become your identity. That's why this matters so much. Because when you change your habits, you don't just change your schedule, you change who you are. You build a new standard for yourself. You create a version of you that doesn't need to think twice about doing the right thing. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop telling yourself you'll start later. Later doesn't exist. The habits you practice today are already shaping your tomorrow. Choose one. Start today. Replace it with something better. Build consistency. And watch as your life begins to shift, not because of massive breakthroughs, but because of small, intentional choices stacked over time. Remember, you are always one habit away from a new direction. Don't let your old patterns control your life any longer. Take the wheel back. Rewrite your autopilot. And build the future you actually want to live in. Motivation is like a spark. It feels powerful in the moment, but it fades fast. It's unreliable. One day you're fired up and ready to take on the world, and the next you can't even drag yourself out of bed on time. And most people spend their entire lives chasing that spark, wondering why they can't stay consistent. They think something is wrong with them. They think they lack discipline or talent. But the real problem isn't them, it's what they're depending on. If you're building your life around motivation, you're building on sand. The foundation will collapse the moment the weather changes. Because motivation isn't designed to last. It comes in waves, and waves are never steady. If you want consistency, if you want results that don't vanish the moment you feel off, you need something stronger. You need structure. Structure is what carries you when motivation disappears. It's the safety net that catches you when your energy dips. It's the framework that keeps you moving forward even on the days when you don't feel like it. That's why the people who win in life aren't the most motivated. They're the most structured. Think about it. When you have structure, you don't waste energy trying to convince yourself to act. You already know what needs to be done. You've already decided ahead of time. You don't debate with your feelings, you don't negotiate with your laziness, you don't leave it to chance. You simply follow the process. And that's where real progress begins. Not in a burst of energy, but in the steady rhythm of structure. Here's the truth. Most people fail not because they're incapable, but because they live in reaction. They wait until they feel like it. They try to force motivation out of thin air. And when it doesn't show up, they stall. Then they beat themselves up, restart again, and repeat the same cycle over and over. That cycle kills progress. But when you have structure, you break the cycle. You wake up, and instead of wondering what to do, you already know. Instead of hoping today will be productive, you've already designed it to be. That's what structure does. It eliminates guesswork. It frees your mind to focus on execution instead of decision-making. Because decisions are expensive. Every time you hesitate, every time you ask yourself, should I do this or not? You burn mental energy. That energy runs out fast. And by the time you actually get around to acting, you're exhausted. But when structure is in place, the decision is already made. You save your energy for the work itself. This is why structure feels so powerful. It removes the mental noise. It reduces stress. It builds flow. And the more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. So what does structure look like? It's not complicated. It doesn't have to be some elaborate 50-step morning routine or a color-coded calendar. Structure can be simple, but it must be clear. Could be waking up at the same time every day, writing down your top 3 priorities every night before bed, blocking 90 minutes of distraction-free time for focused work, preparing your meals ahead of time, limiting how often you check your phone. These aren't glamorous. They don't give you a rush of excitement, but they give you something better: control. Because the real cost of living without structure is chaos. Look around. Most people's lives feel messy not because they're lazy, but because they lack systems. They wake up late. They react to problems instead of planning for them. They waste hours scrolling because they don't have rules around focus. And then they wonder why they feel drained, why their goals keep slipping further away. It's not a mystery. It's a lack of structure. When you build structure, you start to see life differently. You stop being tossed around by circumstances. You stop letting your emotions run the show. You start taking back control of your time, your energy, your direction. That's when confidence grows, not because everything is easy, but because everything is aligned. And here's the best part. Structure doesn't restrict your freedom. It creates it. Most people think discipline equals prison. They think routines make life boring. But the truth is, chaos is what's boring. Doing the same thing every day, staying stuck, never moving forward, that's boring. Structure gives you freedom. Because when your essentials are locked in, you free up mental space. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do. You no longer burn time battling distractions. You already know your non-negotiables. That clarity gives you room to create, to explore, to actually enjoy your life without guilt. So stop depending on motivation. Stop hoping tomorrow you'll wake up inspired. Build a system that runs whether you feel inspired or not. Here's how you start. Decide what matters most to you. Lock in the behaviors that support it. Remove the distractions that pull you off track. Repeat until it becomes your default. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can refine as you go. But the moment you put structure in place, you're already ahead of most people. Because now you're not hoping for consistency, you're creating it. Motivation is the spark. Structure is the fire that keeps burning. Don't build your life around a feeling. Build it around a system that works every single day. That's how you create success. Not with one good day, but with thousands of steady days stacked on top of each other. Your goals don't respond to hope. They respond to action, consistent, focused, repeatable action. And structure is the only way to guarantee it. So ask yourself right now, where in my life am I depending on motivation when I should be building structure? Because once you experience what structure can do, you'll never want to go back to the chaos. Accountability is the hidden backbone of discipline. Most people think discipline is about willpower, about forcing yourself to grind every day until you collapse. But that's not the whole picture. Discipline lives in accountability, in the way you keep yourself in check when no one else is around. It's easy to show up when others are expecting you. When a boss is checking in, when a coach is shouting, when a deadline is staring you down. External accountability is powerful, but it's temporary. Because what happens when no one is watching? What happens when the room is empty, when the applause is gone, when no one will notice if you cut corners or skip the work? That's the moment that defines you. Most people crumble there. Not because they're incapable, but because they've never learned how to lead themselves. They've built a habit of relying on others for pressure. Without someone checking on them, they let things slide. They push things to tomorrow. They tell themselves it doesn't matter because no one will know. But deep down, and that's the most important accountability of all. Your word to yourself is the foundation of your identity. Every time you say you'll do something and then you don't, you chip away at your own confidence. You teach yourself that your word doesn't mean much. And after enough broken promises, you stop believing in yourself. That's why so many people feel stuck. They don't trust themselves anymore. But the opposite is also true. Every time you keep your word, even in the smallest ways, you strengthen your identity. You build trust with yourself. You prove that when you say you'll do something, you mean it. And that trust becomes unshakable confidence. That's why accountability is not punishment. It's power. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about protecting your future from your present impulses. Here's the standard you must build. If I said I would do it, I do it. Period. No excuses. No exceptions. Even if no one notices. Even if there's no applause. Even if it's uncomfortable. That standard is what separates the unstoppable from the average. Because when you no longer need outside pressure to stay disciplined, you become dangerous in the best way. You become self-led. And a self-led person can't be stopped because they don't wait for someone else to push them. They carry their own fire. So how do you build this muscle of accountability? Start with honesty. Be brutally honest with yourself. Don't hide. Don't pretend. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I do what I said I would do? If the answer is no, don't make excuses. Don't justify. Don't sweep it under the rug. Face it. Fix it tomorrow. That honesty is what keeps you growing. You can also use tools. Write your goals down. Track your progress. Review your actions daily. Keep a journal. These aren't just productivity hacks, they're accountability systems. They force you to confront reality, to see the gap between what you said and what you did. And when you close that gap consistently, your confidence skyrockets. Another key is removing the option to lie to yourself. That's the real trap. People convince themselves that skipping one day isn't a big deal. But it is. Because every skipped commitment is a message to your brain. We don't have to take ourselves seriously. That message, repeated, is deadly. It erodes belief. It builds weakness. So eliminate that option. Hold yourself to a higher standard. Decide that your word matters more than your comfort. That even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching, even when no one will ever know, you will know. And that's enough reason to show up. When you start living this way, something shifts. You stop needing motivation. You stop needing validation. You stop needing applause. You move from external pressure to internal drive. And that internal drive is the most reliable fuel you'll ever have. Because no one else can build your life for you. People can inspire you, guide you, encourage you, but they can't do the work. That's your job. And the moment you embrace that responsibility fully, you free yourself. Here's the truth. Accountability isn't about perfection. You will slip. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. But the difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is this. When the disciplined person fails, they don't hide from it. They acknowledge it, they adjust, and they return stronger. They don't let one misstep turn into a downward spiral. Accountability is about consistency, not flawlessness. It's about showing up, owning your actions, and refusing to lie to yourself. And over time, as you build this standard, everything else becomes easier. You stop carrying guilt. You stop dragging regret. You stop wasting mental energy on excuses. You move cleaner. You move lighter. You move with clarity because you're no longer hiding from yourself. That's the real prize of accountability, peace of mind. Not just the pride of getting things done, but the peace of knowing you can trust yourself. The confidence of knowing your life is being built by someone reliable, you. And once you build that habit, you'll notice something else. Others begin to trust you, too. People respect consistency. They respect the ones who follow through quietly, without show, without excuses. They know your word has weight. That trust opens doors. That trust attracts opportunity. That trust builds influence. It all begins in the moments no one sees. The early morning when you could sleep in but you don't. The late night when you could quit early but you finish. The quiet promises you keep when the world isn't watching. That's where real character is built. That's where unstoppable discipline is born. So stop waiting for someone else to hold you accountable. Stop leaning on outside pressure. Stop relying on deadlines, applause, or praise. Start building the only accountability that lasts. The one between you and you. Because in the end, that's the only relationship that decides your future. Starting is easy. That first burst of energy, the excitement of a fresh goal, the hope that this time it will work. That's the easy part. You make the plan, you feel inspired, you take the first steps. And for a little while, it feels like everything is moving. But then comes the test. You're doing the work, but the results don't show. A week goes by. A month goes by. You look around and it feels like nothing has changed. And in that silence, most people quit. Not because they're not capable. Not because the process doesn't work. But because they expected results faster than reality delivers. This is the gap that kills dreams, the space between action and visible reward. We live in a world addicted to speed. People want results in days, not months. They want proof immediately. And when they don't see it, they assume the process is broken. They throw it away, restart, and repeat the same cycle endlessly. That's why so many never reach their goals. They never stay with the process long. You nurture them, and for a long time you see nothing. The soil looks the same, and you're tempted to believe nothing is happening. But under the surface, roots are forming. Foundations are being built. And the moment you give up, you cut off the growth that was about to break through. That's what most people never understand. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Invisible growth is still growth. Slow progress is still progress. The strongest results are rarely immediate. They're built in silence, with repetition, with patience. Quick results can fade just as quickly. But the results you earn slowly, the ones forged by daily discipline and consistency, those are the results that last. So you have to make a decision. Will you keep going when the process feels invisible? Will you keep following your system when there's no applause, no recognition, no instant feedback? Because that's where real discipline is born. Not in the spark of starting, but in the grind of continuing. Think about it. Anyone can stay committed when success is immediate. Anyone can keep working when rewards show up right away. But it takes a different kind of strength to keep going when nothing seems to be happening. That's what separates the temporary from the permanent. When progress is slow, most people get bored. They think repetition is failure. They chase new plans, new strategies, new distractions. But the winners know the truth. Progress hides in repetition. The very act of doing the same thing again and again is what sharpens your skill, builds your habits, and lays the foundation for success. Slow does not mean stuck. Slow means solid. Slow means the roots are growing deeper. Slow means the process is building you from the inside out. That's why you have to shift your focus. Stop obsessing over outcomes. Stop staring at the scoreboard every day. Start respecting the process. Respect the work you're putting in, even if the rewards aren't showing yet. Trust that every action is adding weight to the foundation. Every day you follow the system, you are stacking bricks, even if the wall hasn't risen above the ground yet. This requires maturity. It requires patience. It requires the ability to silence your emotions when they scream, "It's not working," and replace them with a steady voice that says, "Stay the course. Trust the process." Because emotions will shift. Doubt will rise. Fear will whisper that you're wasting your time. But your values, your commitment, your system, those don't change. And if you anchor yourself to them, you'll outlast the storm of impatience. Remember this: effort is never wasted. Every action counts. Every rep strengthens you. Every page read, every workout finished, every hour of focus. It all builds momentum, even if you don't see it right away. The people who reach their goals aren't the ones who got quick results. They're the ones who didn't stop when progress slowed down. They trusted the process long enough to let it deliver. So don't rush. Don't panic. Don't abandon the plan the moment it feels quiet. Stick with it. because the breakthrough often comes right after the point most people quit. If you keep digging up the seeds to check for growth, you'll kill the roots before they ever reach the surface. But if you water them daily, even without seeing change, one day you'll wake up to a field full of results. That's how life works. Transformation takes time. Habits take time. Systems take time. But if you keep showing up, the results will come. Not on your timeline, but on the timeline of the work you've invested. So stop chasing speed. Speed doesn't build depth. Consistency builds depth. And depth builds results that last. Your job isn't to control when the results arrive. Your job is to control your actions today. Your job is to show up, follow the system, and trust the process no matter how slow it feels. Because when you master that, you build an identity that doesn't depend on fast wins. You build patience. You build resilience. You build the kind of strength that carries you through every season of life. And in the end, that's what creates real success. Not a quick sprint, but a steady marathon. Not fast results, but lasting results. Not hype, but discipline. So keep going. Even when it feels slow. Even when it feels invisible. Even when the world tells you it's not working. Keep watering the seeds. Keep stacking the bricks. Keep following the process. Because the ones who refuse to stop are the ones who win. There's a frustrating cycle most people live in, and it repeats like clockwork. You get excited about a goal. You feel a surge of energy. You make a plan. You tell yourself this time will be different. And for a while you stay consistent. Then life gets heavy. Motivation fades. Old habits creep back in. And little by little your momentum dies. You don't announce it. You don't decide it all at once. But slowly, quietly you stop. Days pass. Then weeks. And eventually, what once felt important becomes nothing more than another abandoned attempt. And then comes the guilt. You look back at what you started with regret. You wonder why you didn't follow through. You remember how good it felt to believe in yourself, and you hate how empty it feels to quit again. This cycle is brutal, not just because it steals your progress, but because it steals your belief. Every time you quit, you weaken your trust in yourself. You begin to doubt your ability to stay consistent. And that doubt builds walls around your future. Because if you don't believe in your own ability to finish, you'll never commit fully. And without full commitment, you'll never see the real rewards of your effort. Here's the truth. Starting is never the problem. Finishing is. Anyone can start. Starting feels exciting. Starting feels inspiring. But finishing, that's rare. Finishing takes grit. Finishing takes patience. Finishing takes the ability to stay with something long after the feelings have faded. That's why so few people do it. If you want to break this cycle, you must face an uncomfortable truth. Quitting has become your habit. You've practiced it so many times that it feels normal. The moment things get hard, your mind looks for an exit. And because quitting has always been an option, you take it. But here's the good news. If you can practice quitting, you can practice finishing. You can retrain your mind to follow through. You can rebuild your self-trust one choice at a time. The first step is honesty. Stop blaming busyness. Stop blaming lack of motivation. Stop pretending the timing wasn't right. The real reason you quit is because you let feelings decide your commitment. And until you admit that, you'll keep repeating the pattern. The second step is patience. Too many people quit because they expect fast results. They start something, and when change doesn't show up immediately, they assume it's not working. But real growth isn't instant. It's silent, slow, and invisible in the beginning. You must learn to respect the process even when it feels boring. The third step is rules. You need a personal rule that quitting is no longer on the table. That once you start, finishing isn't optional. It's who you are now. You don't stop when it's hard. You don't stop when it's boring. You don't stop when it feels slow. You finish because that's the standard. And the fourth step is focus. Most people fail because they try to do too much at once. They spread themselves across 10 goals, and when the weight gets heavy, they collapse. Stop chasing everything. Pick one goal, one focus, and make this commitment. I don't stop until this is finished. That's how you rebuild confidence, by proving to yourself that you can finish one thing fully. Track your progress. Not for applause, not for recognition, but for proof. Every day you follow through, write it down. Create evidence that you're still in the game. Because progress you can see keeps you honest. Even if it's small, it's proof that you didn't quit. And proof builds belief. Also, eliminate distractions that tempt you to quit. Quitting is always easiest when you have another option waiting. Another plan. Another distraction. Another excuse. Burn those exits. Remove them. Create an environment that supports your commitment, not one that sabotages it. And don't underestimate the power of accountability. Tell someone your goal. Share your progress. Let others know this time is different. Not because the goal changed, but because you changed. Because you're no longer entertaining the habit of quitting. The truth is, you already know what quitting feels like. You've lived it. You've carried that guilt. You've felt the sting of breaking your own word. Why repeat it? This time, give yourself the gift of finishing. Let yourself feel what it's like to keep going when it's hard, when it's slow, when it's boring. That pride lasts forever. Quitting doesn't just waste time, it rewires your mind to accept less than you're capable of. But finishing rewires you in the opposite direction. Teaches you that you can be trusted, that your word matters, that your effort means something. And once you taste that, you'll never want to go back. So here's the standard. From this point forward, you don't stop halfway. You don't abandon your commitments. You don't let temporary feelings decide permanent outcomes. You finish what you start. Because finishing is rare. Finishing is valuable. Finishing is what separates dreamers from doers. And the moment you make it your identity to finish, your life begins to change. Break the cycle today. Not next month. Not after another reset. Today. Pick one goal, one habit, one decision, and finish it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult it feels, no matter how unexciting it becomes. Finish it. Because that's where victory lives, not in starting again, but in refusing to quit. Finishing is a skill. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's not something you're born with. It's something you train. Something you wire into your mind through repeated practice until quitting feels unnatural and finishing feels automatic. The problem is, most people never train this skill. They train the opposite. Without realizing it, they've trained their mind to quit. Every time they start something and walk away before it's complete, they reinforce a pattern. They tell their brain, when things get hard, we stop. They teach themselves to escape discomfort, and that conditioning grows stronger each time they do it. This is why so many people feel stuck. It's not because they don't have opportunities. It's because their brain has learned to tap out before results show up. Their lives are filled with half-built plans, unfinished projects, abandoned goals, and deep down, it eats at them. Because every unfinished effort chips away at belief. Every time you don't finish, you lose a little more trust in yourself. But here's the truth. You can retrain your mind. You can build a new default. You can wire a new rule into your system. We don't stop until it's done. And you start small. Finishing doesn't have to begin with massive goals. It begins with simple actions. If you say you'll clean something, finish it. If you say you'll make a call, finish it. If you set a deadline, meet it. These might seem small, but they're powerful signals. Every time you follow through, you're telling your brain, we finish what we start. Over time, that becomes your identity. That's how confidence is built. Not from hype, not from external praise, but from proof. Proof that you keep your word. Proof that you can be trusted. Proof that you are dependable not just to others, but to yourself. Think about how powerful that is. Imagine knowing that every time you commit to something, it gets done. Imagine how much peace that would bring. How much belief it would build. How much progress it would create. That's the life you're capable of living, but only if you train your mind to finish. So how do you train it? You practice. Daily. You pick fewer goals, but you see them through. You remove the option to quit halfway. You treat finishing as non-negotiable. Here's the trap most people fall into. They chase too many things at once. They start 5 goals, 10 goals, and because their attention is scattered, they quit all of them halfway. Don't do that. Narrow your focus. Choose one thing, one goal, and commit fully. I don't stop until this is complete. Then protect your focus. Remove distractions. Cut out temptations. Don't give yourself escape routes. If quitting has always been your habit, you need to close the doors that lead back to it. Make finishing easier than abandoning. And when the urge to quit shows up, and it will, you have to lead your own mind. You have to replace the voice that says, "Stop, this is too hard," with the voice that says, "We don't stop now. We're close. We're capable. We finish." That's what mental training looks like. Not waiting for perfect energy. Not hoping for perfect conditions. But practicing the ability to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. And here's the truth most people ignore. Finishing isn't about perfection. You don't have to finish flawlessly. You just have to finish. Even if it's messy. Even if it's slower than you expected. Even if it's not as impressive as you imagined. Completion itself is the victory, because it rewires your brain. It gives you evidence that you're not a quitter anymore. Every time you complete something, no matter how small, you add strength to your identity. You become the kind of person who follows through. And once that becomes who you are, everything changes. You stop wasting time on doubt. You stop draining energy on hesitation. You stop building half-built bridges and start building solid results. This is why finishing is one of the most underrated skills in the world. Because finishing makes you powerful. Most people give up when the boredom hits, when the difficulty rises, when the pace slows down. But if you've trained yourself to finish anyway, you instantly separate yourself from the crowd. You don't need constant motivation. You don't need external pressure. You don't need applause. You just need the mindset, if I start, I finish. That alone will carry you further than almost anything else. So here's your challenge. Start training today. Pick one thing, not 5, not 10, just one, and finish it. No matter how long it takes, no matter how inconvenient it feels, no matter how much resistance shows up. Finish it, and then do it again, and again, until finishing becomes normal, until quitting feels uncomfortable, until you've built the mental discipline that says, we don't run, we don't pause, we don't abandon, we finish. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build resilience. That's how you build a life that actually moves forward. Because starting may feel good, but finishing, that's what transforms you. Success is never about doing something once. It's not about one powerful day or one productive week. It's about showing up so consistently that your actions stop feeling like choices and start feeling like who you are. The real goal isn't to build motivation, it's to build automatic systems. Systems so strong that even when you're tired, unmotivated, or distracted, you keep moving forward without hesitation. At the start, everything feels like effort. Every action feels like a decision. You have to talk yourself into it. You have to remind yourself why it matters. You have to push against resistance every step of the way. And in those early days, most people quit. They quit before the system locks in. They quit before their habits have time to take root. And then they wonder why nothing ever sticks. But here's the truth. If you keep showing up long enough, something powerful happens. Your brain adapts. Your habits become stronger than your hesitation. The process that once felt heavy becomes routine. The effort that once felt exhausting becomes natural. That's when the game changes. That's when discipline stops being forced and starts being automatic. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't debate it. You don't wait for motivation. You don't wonder if you're in the mood. You just do it. Why? Because it's automatic. It's part of your system. That's what success should feel like. The workout, the journaling, the reading, the focused work, the planning. The choices that build your future should eventually feel as automatic as brushing your teeth. But you don't get there by accident. You get there by repetition, by showing up day after day, even when it feels slow, even when it feels boring, even when it feels invisible. That's how systems are installed. That's how discipline becomes identity. The problem is, most people don't last long enough for this shift to happen. They quit too early. They expect change in days when real transformation requires weeks, months, years. They're so addicted to speed that they never experience the freedom that comes with automation. Because when your system becomes automatic, your life changes completely. You stop wasting energy deciding what to do. You stop debating with yourself. You stop negotiating with your feelings. You free your mind to focus on higher-level goals, creativity, and growth, because the fundamentals are already locked in. That's the hidden reward of discipline. People think discipline restricts freedom, but it creates freedom. Once your non-negotiables are automatic, you have more time, more focus, more energy for everything else. You stop living in chaos and start living in flow. So how do you reach this point? How do you make your system automatic? You keep showing up. That's it. Not perfectly, not dramatically, not with massive leaps. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Show up when you're tired. Show up when you're uninspired. Show up when it feels like nothing is happening. Every rep, every page, every small action is teaching your brain, this is who we are now. And eventually, your brain believes it. You don't have to fight forever. You just have to fight long enough for your system to take over. Long enough for the habits to embed themselves into your identity. Long enough for the process to feel natural. One day, without even realizing it, you'll catch yourself following through automatically. You'll wake up and do the work without debate. You'll stay focused without resistance. You'll finish the task without excuses. That's the moment you'll realize something powerful. You're no longer trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. That's the transformation you're after. Not a life that depends on short bursts of motivation, but a life where discipline runs on autopilot. Where your systems carry you forward even when your emotions don't want to. And once you've built that, nothing can stop you. Because now your consistency isn't fragile, it's automatic. Your identity isn't built on wishes. It's built on proof. And your results aren't a matter of chance, they're inevitable. So here's the challenge. Keep showing up. No matter how you feel. No matter how slow it seems. No matter how far the finish line looks. Keep showing up until your system becomes automatic. Because that's the only way real change sticks. Not with one big effort. Not with a dramatic breakthrough. But with quiet, repeated action stacked day after day until the system takes over. You won't always see it happening. But one day you'll look back and realize, you became the person you always wanted to be. Not through hype. Not through chance. But through structure. Through systems. Through the daily decision to keep going. That's how live.